My friends, welcome to another episode of the Nuclear Heatwave Wrestling Podcast, brought to you by Mafia Sports Report. I, as always, am Dr. Love, and of course, we've got my brother from another mother. We got Sauce Bronson.
And ladies and gentlemen, damn it, we got a special guest who graced us with his presence. Go ahead, Dr. Love.
We do. We have my brother from another mother, which is Sauce Bronson, but I also got my brother, CBM. Here we go.
What's going on?
We got it's a good old bro fest or bro down.
That's right. Live and in living color.
Oh my God, that's
Let's
fun.
go. Oh,
That's fun.
listen, I woke up this morning and I just knew today was going to be a good day.
Yep, there you go. Hey, there
The
you go.
CBM is in the house. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. So it looks like we do have a chat here. We got Chris 716. So it's a shake my head, but I don't know. We'll go Bills. So you know what? The Bills Mafia report. What could I say? So
Listen, sucks what happened Sunday night. Did I say you got $1 million? You got $1 million on defense over there, and they all falling apart. Hey,
oh my
I'll
God.
tell you what, got all the cards on the table and they fall apart. Welcome to what it's like being a Lions fan for the last 20 years.
Ain't that right? We also got D-Town guy in the house. We got what's up, fellas? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Always good in the house. Hey, hopefully you're here because we're gonna have a very good conversation today. Because as you've seen from our nicely made thumbnail, it's all about the game. The video games, the long-awaited video game episode of the Nuclear Heatwave Wrestling Podcast. Because, of course, if you're a wrestling fan, there's a very big high probability you've played some wrestling game at once or sometime. And I'm telling you, we've all played them. The good, the bad, the weird, the very different. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So, and, I'm not going to lie. There's no real structure, guys, whatever you guys want to tell us or you like, dislike, we're going to talk about it. And we're going to jump all around. So that's all. That's fine by me. So what I think we'll start off with is because CBM is our guest tonight. CBM, what kind of in the past wrestling game that you liked playing, disliked or just had a connection to? Anything specific?
Well, I started with actually the first wrestling game I had. You're not going to believe this. It's on a system called the FM Towns Marty.
Yeah.
And I don't know this thing. I bought this from some idiot in France, and this thing barely worked. But one game worked, and that was what you know of as Saturday Night Slam Masters. Japanese name is Muscle Bomber. And that was one of the only games that even worked on it. And that was actually my first wrestling game. It was not the WWF games, but those came later.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty unique.
Toucan Red Suit, and those came later.
That's very unique right there. I'll tell you that for sure. 'Cause I know 98% of the people don't have a clue what system you're even referring to, but trust me.
And you're better for it. Let me tell you that.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Listen, when it comes to Saturday Night Slam Masters, I didn't know about that game until maybe 20 years ago. And the only reason I knew about it was only because of Mike Hagar. And I was like, hey, any game with Mike Hagar in it, I'm down for it. We're not gonna talk about Final Fight 3. But that's besides the point.
No.
But as far as Slam Masters, because I know they did 2 of them, and I was messing around with them on my Capcom arcade cabinet, and it's like the move list. Let's say basically the controls is kind of the same, but it's slightly different between both games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Muscle Bomber Duo was the second one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot what they called it here.
Oh, I know that's a good one right there. We do have another couple chats here from D-Town Guy, the NES Wrestling Challenge. So, game. And then, of course, WrestleMania. And there was a few different WrestleManias, but if you're talking about WrestleMania Arcade, I'm assuming, possibly, then I'm with you on that. So I loved the WrestleMania arcade game. I love playing it. And then, I mean, it was great. And when they ported it over for the consoles, so cool. It's such a good game. So, did you own that, Sauce? Did you own that game?
What you talking about?
WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Yeah. Listen. We listen. Come on now. That's one game we definitely got to talk about. That's definitely. So in my mind, I went in my mindset going to this was like maybe like a top 3. And it's definitely my top 5. And No Mercy, like mind you, I grew up a big Street Fighter fan, like fighting games, you could do no wrong. At that point, we just came fresh off of Mortal Kombat 3. And I'll never forget it. I was at Super Kmart for those who live, in the Metro Detroit area.
Oh, yeah.
Super Kmart. 3 games I remember well there. During that time, it was that. And I think Mace the Dark Age. And I want to say Street Fighter Alpha 1. And I just remember, I remember seeing pictures of WrestleMania arcade game. They were talking about like in the Game Pro magazines.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget just seeing like in person, just the lights, how bright it was, the action. And it was like, it was pretty much a Mortal Kombat. It was basically a Mortal Kombat Mugen game with, wrestlers in it, but just looking at, I'm seeing Bret Hart doing combos, Undertaker's doing like, special projectiles. We got, Razor Ramon with the razor, with as far as the razor hands.
Yeah.
And, now that I'm thinking about it, what No Mercy kind of reminds me of as far as a predecessor?
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like a predecessor to Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, okay.
I know that's like a wild take to have.
Yeah.
But as far as that game goes, when it comes to WrestleMania arcade game, it was 2 things I love: fighting games and pro wrestling.
Oh, hey, that's cool. That's where you have these different experiences. Oh no.
There we go.
Okay, I see it. Yep, there's our hot take. It's funny. I posted something earlier, guys, and now it looks like he already had an idea laid out. So,
hey, shout out to this new streaming service. Oh man, these graphics are so awesome.
StreamYard for the win. There we go.
Yeah, we are working with a new streaming service, so the little things we're going to be doing here and there, just work with us on it. Work with us, and we got Papa Mafia. Tecmo Wrestling wasn't terrible. That's always good to say.
I'm about to try something. I'm still listening.
It's still not as good as obviously the football game. So it looks like we do have another chat. We got Enya's in the house. Sup, people? Sup? Yeah. How's it going with you, man?
Yeah.
So,
what's going on?
Thanks for joining the chat. Let us know your favorite wrestling game or a bad experience with one, or whatever, a fun experience. Let us know. And then D-Town guy about WrestleMania, and then regular Nintendo. Yeah, I'm familiar with the one you're talking about, because it's funny when you do research on this. There are so many games, like very weird games that came out, and yeah. And then of course WWE Superstars was awesome as well.
I don't have a green screen. I figured this my bed sheet might work. But it's not so.
No, it has to be green.
now there is a game that it really was an interesting game, but I don't even know if it's emulated yet. It's a game on the Hyper Neo Geo 64 arcade system called Bariki 1, and this was supposed to be an MMA type of wrestling game. And the controls were just odd for it. And it was an interesting concept, but it didn't go over well. Most people, when they got that into that system, they got Fatal Fury Wild Ambition, which actually, believe it or not, people wanted at one point. They were impressed by, or Samurai Showdown 64. That's another story.
Do you know, actually, going with that, you were talking about the controls being kind of weird.
Yeah.
What if they made a wrestling game, an arcade wrestling game, where you had to move with a trackball? trackball movement. You still have buttons too, but the movement would be like with the trackball.
The irritating maze. The irritating maze. That was a game where you were the marble going through a labyrinth.
Oh, here we go. We got 3-count bout, baby.
Is this what you were talking about, CBM?
No, Bariki 1. Buriki, and then
B-U.
3-count bout, though. We played that. That was a fun game right there,
How you
too.
spell it again? B-U. Oh, I'm sorry.
Buriki, and then ONE 1.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to the internet land, I do apologize. I'm a very slow typer. Deal with it.
And there we go.
Okay, so let's see. Actually, if I could take it over to images. Come on.
It almost gives it like a virtual fighter feel to it.
But it's an MMA game.
But
you can see they're
in like a cage, like an octagon-esque cage.
Yes.
Ah, see, okay, all right, very interesting. Yeah, and look who's on the cover. Like you have the Bruce Lee character that's clearly Bruce Lee, like that's your lead character.
I mean, if that game came out today, of course they'd have different characters on the cover. But
You never know. I mean, look at Street Fighter. You have with the whole Balrog and Bison thing.
oh yeah. But now remember King of the Monsters. I mean, would you consider that technically a wrestling game? I don't know.
You know what's funny? Because we were talking with this guy, that guy, Travis, about games, and he was going to talk like he couldn't be on the show today. But one game he was bringing up was the Def Jam Battle of New York or Fight for New York, the game as a fighting.
It does count.
Wrestling game. And I kind of do too, because that game isn't really a fighting game. It's more of a wrestling with wrestling moves and stuff. So yeah, I would definitely say I love King of the Monsters. Now that's some good. How they got away though, like with that game with like copyright, yeah, it kind of surprises me to this day.
I think they did. I think they did have an understanding with Toho.
With Toho
I think
for the
they
Godzilla license.
I think they did have an understanding with them, but otherwise they would have been sued to oblivion. and SNK, they made a lot of bonehead decisions over the years. But
yeah,
anyway.
well, that's
a podcast for a whole nother week.
Like a 3-hour podcast right there. But we do have a couple more chats here. Actually, we have this one right here. What's this? Papa Mafia? And WCW NWO Revenge is the best wrestling game ever.
Here we go.
But it's fun. Like, so I don't know. What do we got there? Oh Lord! Oh Lord! Look at this. It's my completing box. Now the box is a little beat up, but let's look at this. Let's look at the instructions.
There we go.
Great.
You even have the other for Nintendo Power.
I've even got the poster that was never used right here, and I'm going to show it to you as a first right here. What the poster was. Oh, it's good. So the poster, of course, has the front of the box right there, and then look at the back. The back, right there, baby. Now, what's funny about it at this time is how much they pushed Raven. Raven got he's on. Look at this. Look at this. Like, why is Raven on all the stuff? Like he was popular, but I just didn't think it was that popular. Yes, look at this. And then the Nintendo insert here. Let's take a look at this. Oh, some fun games. Oh, let's sign up here. Let's sign up here today. Hold on. Let's sign up for this. Yes, I want 12 issues of Nintendo Power plus a free Super Mario 64 player's guide for $19.95. That's not a bad deal. That's actually a pretty good deal right there.
You're going through this, and you might as well do the epileptic warning. And you're making these collecting nerds cream in their pants. I swear when you're opening this.
Right there, though, Papa Mafia. Just saying. Here you go. Touch it, pet it. Here you go, Sauce. Here you go. Don't you want it? Oh, and Sauce is gone. That's okay. That's all right. It's all right. But and actually, Papa Mafia said a good point here. WCW versus the World was underrated. It was. That was predated the other games, so people kind of forget about that. So it's absolutely true on it. It's just when WCW Revenge came out, that was the first time they were playing with this new engine. And yeah, at the time it worked, but Now I still like the game, but it is very hard to go back to that game now and try to play it, especially if you've played any new games.
It is.
It's so difficult to want to play
difficult.
it, and I don't like it. I don't like going back to it, But we'll be talking about that. Oh, so yeah, but it's okay. Sauce, I see what you're doing. Oh, look, he updated it. Oh, that's so cute.
You see it more, just trying to help out.
He's trying to help out. I see.
That's all. I just want the viewers to. I just want the viewers to, not be lost in the. I don't want the viewers left in the dark. That's all.
Okay. So let's talk about one thing here. So now I'm going to talk about here because I had a couple games here, and of course I'm just going to go out and say it like SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain. Come on, this right here. That's the monolith, right? Like you would see.
That's the bar
right there. This game, boom. It's great. I had this years ago. Ended up selling it. Ended up rebuying it for $5 at Disc Replay. Now that's $5. That's worth $5. That's worth more than $5. So,
but is the disc scratched up?
Ooh, that's a good point. Let's check it out because they don't care. Oh, pretty good. Pretty damn good.
Pretty good.
But
I still got my copy at my mom's house, but I have a modded PS2.
Yeah.
Where I basically
your PS2 is nice. It's a good it's really good actually.
I saved Dr. Love $60 from buying that Metal Slug game.
He did the Metal Slug 3D game that only came out in Japan. It's so bad. So thankfully,
to be fair, it was their first time. I feel like if they would have tried it now, knowing what they know, it would definitely be a good quality game.
It takes tank controls and makes it very punny about it.
The worst thing was the camera.
The camera was horrific. Well, the save spots. Like I got through almost all that stage, died, and they're like all the way back to the beginning. No checkpoints. Yeah.
I mean that's like R-Type.
God. The SNK that goes in the 3-hour SNK one for a later time.
But I would say Here Comes the Pain. That is my number one wrestling game. Yeah. I would defend it over No Mercy any day of the week. I will go. Listen, Stephen A. Smith. I know you got people that watch the show. Put me on the panel, and I will battle anybody. I will battle up to 100 people explaining why their opinion is wrong and why Here Comes the Pain is the greatest wrestling game ever. It was so great that the next year they had to call it Raw versus SmackDown. That's how great it was.
Well, that's actually a good point. You say that because you have the SmackDown game, and then you have SmackDown 2 was Know Your Role, right? So you had SmackDown, then Know Your Role, then Shut Your Mouth was the third game.
No. Shut Your Mouth was the fourth one. Just Brady was the third one.
This was the fifth one. You're right. Actually, that's a good point. You said that. I think the Japanese version of the game refers to it as a fifth game. I was looking up some screen caps, and it had the Japanese characters, and then 5, like the number 5. So I was so you're right. So the other, the one right before, which was Shut Your Mouth, I believe, right? So Shut Your Mouth came out. That was pretty good, but it was just when the story mode of Here Comes the Pain, the first time that you could really interact with more, a lot of the tables and setting up tables. You could double up the tables. You could go in the back and fight. It was just so cool. All of that. It was just so cool.
Here's the icing on the cake to why Here Comes the Pain is great. So in the career mode, it goes on and on. It's not like it's just one season. It just continues and continues and continues. And what makes it so good is that a lot of times your creative wrestlers show up and then they become a part of story angles too.
That was always a fun part because when I would play this game with a few of my buddies, their favorite thing was the creative wrestler and how many slots. I remember they had made at least 40 different creative characters. And then, you would see them pop up in random storylines. They'd have all these weird characters. And ironically, we always joke about it because it was my friend Brandon and Justin and Kevin and CBM definitely knows them as well. But they would come up with these weird characters that some of them ended up happening in real life, in wrestling. They had a character which was original to them, and it was the Boogeyman. And yes, it sounds like, the Boogeyman. So they got so mad when the Boogeyman came out. They're like, what? And then they made the cabinet. They made an Abraham Lincoln character, but they made a whole thing in the cabinet. So what do you think that happened when JBL got made the cabinet?
Randall Jordan and
He
the
was
other chick with the weird stuff on her face.
Yep. Oh my Jillian Hall. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Where guess what? The boogeyman ate the damn thing off her face. So
That was disgusting.
it was like
It was terrible.
you know whose idea was, God damn, people are gonna watch that. Oh yeah, god damn. She's got that thing on her face. They're gonna look at that.
But then her comeback was to make a Christmas album.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't gonna wrestle. CBM, she was not gonna wrestle.
Jesus.
But yeah, so going back to, like I said, when it came to like Here Comes the Pain, I mean, I don't know how many hours put into that. Like you said, the characters would show up in their career mode. It was just overall so fun, and it was the last SmackDown game because then they went to SmackDown versus Raw after that. But don't get me wrong, that first SmackDown versus Raw, you know, I get what they were trying to do some new stuff. So, and then that series wasn't terrible.
It's just you went from prime rib to a McDouble.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
the only good thing,
not even an Arch Deluxe.
the only thing I will give SmackDown versus Raw 2005. The only thing I'll give it was the first one to go online, and me and my buddy used to learn how to like exploit those matches, where it was 1-on-1. And then you would just go outside the ring. You'll grab the referee by his feet, knock him on the ground. He'll be out for like 2 minutes. And you take the chair and you just beat the brakes off your opponent.
Yep.
Until the referee come back to, and then you pin him 1, 2, 3. That was the meta of the first online wrestling game.
Oh my gosh! And what's funny you mentioned that is a few years after that, during that Raw vs SmackDown, they were trying to make an online series game where it was just online. But it ended up being scrapped, probably because they realized there was going to be so many people acting like a fool like you and your friends playing.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Before Final Fantasy 11, PlayStation 2 was not going to be capable of having like 60 people.
No. Its online presence was very limited. I mean, there was very few online games for PS2. So it wasn't even a feasible thing. And then when Xbox started doing it, that made sense. But even then, wrestling even now, where you can play online, I don't. It does not interest me at all to play online because I like to have a fun game to try and play it up. But it won't be like that. It'll just turn into a hot mess very quickly.
Yeah, it will basically just turn into a spam, and basically let's see how many cheap moves I can spam, and it's just for the experience.
So it's like an AEW match where you do the supers over and over again when they keep doing all the moves. Everyone does their moves over and over and over.
5 stars,
and you get 5 at the end. Yeah, they rank because you get stars at the end of the match. How about let's talk about the online for a minute for SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 for the PSP.
Listen, say what you want about SmackDown vs. Raw on PSP, but the fact that I could take my season mode on the go was great, and I could port my creative wrestler over to the PSP, which was like just mind blowing that you can do.
That's cool. It is cool. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, you're fine. Obviously the big joke is, if anybody doesn't know, the PSP, that game had horrendous load times, like some of the worst load times in the game possible.
We're talking Neo Geo CD bad load times.
They were so bad that they're so documented on YouTube videos about like getting into the thing to start the match. Like before, then starting the match, and then you're just sitting there waiting. It's like, what am I? But yeah, when you started playing, it was good. It was fine, because the PSP had limitations, but it was a great system. Actually, now that
it was like a PS 1.5. But what I did like about this, so like me, for example, I was a guy who didn't get his driver's license till he was 25.
That's fine.
So I used to catch the bus everywhere, or we call it the Iron Pimp.
So did you have this guy?
Oh yeah. It's stored up right now, but catching the bus, waiting on the bus, being on the bus, riding the bus everywhere. The loading times at that point became much more bearable because while the game was loading, I could just kind of look around, see what's going on, around the bus or my surroundings or whatnot. So, but I do understand, like, if you just sit in your bedroom, just want to play a portable game, yeah, having those low times, oh yeah, just horrible.
Yeah, I got you on that. So, and if I remember correctly, I'm not sure how many more ports they did on the PSP after that. They did a lot.
I
I remember
did up to, I want to say
9?
they did up to 2011, but don't quote me on
They
that.
started adding ECW in what, 10 or 9?
Let's see. ECW was 08.
Oh, wait. Okay, you're right. It would have been. They would have been that year. Raw versus SmackDown with ECW.
I know I was playing a mod last year where they had somebody made like a SmackDown vs. Raw 20. I want to say it was like 2018 mod or not, but with the engine. Let's see. I'll continue. I'm just looking real quick.
Oh yeah, you're fine. I mean, again, I only played a couple of those games in that series because at that point I kind of, just fell off playing wrestling games. But to kind of go back a little bit or around that time, because I was a GameCube guy. I mean, we had a lot of systems between me and my brother, but GameCube was always like one of my favorite, like Nintendo. So I played Nintendo had their separate series. So they had WrestleMania X8, 18. They had WrestleMania 19. And then they said, we're going to do our own thing. So I always thought this was weird. So there was never a 20 game, but Xbox got WrestleMania 21. And then GameCube got Day of Reckoning. That was the difference. So yeah, Day of Reckoning 2. Were they fun? Yeah. Were they like obviously kind of lower budget than what the Raw versus or Here Comes Pain? Yeah. It was more arcade style.
Doc, we losing you with the audio. So I mean, we'll wait till Doc gets back on, but yeah. So as far as SmackDown games, they went up to about 2011 because by that point the PSP was becoming like the Vita, the system that Sony like crapped on. They brought it out for like it was a couple years, and there was a lot of potential there. And to my knowledge, we didn't even get a WWE game for the PSP. So, but as far as
sorry, I just wanted to make sure that.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I hear you.
Yeah, just let us know because, like I said, sometimes it's been doing that. We just want to make sure we're good to go. So I'll be here like this, and then you can just interpret less.
Right.
Now, when you go out again talking, I'll just be like, I'll just be like, indeed.
Oh my god. But sorry, go ahead. You were saying.
Well, no, I mean, as far as the SmackDown for the PSP was great, but it's a royal crime. I still say to this day, it's a crime against humanity that we did not get a SmackDown versus Raw for the Vita.
Speaking about the Vita, let's talk about the Vita here, which you got some work to do, my friend, doing fun things with this.
What's the firmware on that? Did you update the firmware?
I'd have to look at it, but I'm pretty sure I haven't.
I hope not.
I hope not too, man.
Well, at this point, I mean, Sony ain't really doing too much with that system as far as like keeping it on lockdown. So, but that's a discussion off the camera.
Yeah, right.
Actually, speaking of SmackDown, I want to show y'all something real quick.
Okay.
All right. Here's what's
I didn't, they was talking about like other regions and stuff.
Yeah.
Check that bad boy out. I had no idea that this was like, so this is like Europe, I think. Yeah, Europe. So this was Europe's.
I think it's funny that they took the cover like the WrestleMania like 18, but later when he had his red and yellow resurgence, so it's like okay, I get it, but it's all right. Yeah, if you look up, like I said, like the Here Comes the Pain, the Japanese version, it's very like they just have all the characters. They throw all the characters on there, have a number. It's pretty interesting. I'm curious about how sales are for wrestling games that aren't inherently like All Japan, New Japan, anything in Japan. Like American wrestling games, like the WWE games, and I wonder how those sales are. Honestly, probably not.
We can figure that out. It's our show. We do what we want.
Yeah, but so again with the GameCube game though, the GameCube versions, I really like Day of Reckoning. I did. I had both of them. A lot of people don't even know there was a second one. I had both of them. They were fun. They just weren't as. They were more bare bones, like a stripped down version of like Here Comes the Pain. In a sense, that game was more like Shut Your Mouth and how much stuff you could do. And at that time, it was already kind of like, well, come on, guys, why are we not putting more stuff in this game? But at that point, I think Nintendo said we're going to have our own version of the game, so we're not. Maybe people will buy this. Maybe they'll also buy the other game. I don't know. But having that license, though, I definitely had X8. I think I had 19 for a bit, but it was the Day of Reckoning games. I was like, okay, I'll get that. I would kill for another Day of Reckoning, like not a game maybe, but just like a DLC or something. That to me that'd be kind of cool to see something like that, like kind of harken back to that game. So especially if the Switch versions aren't going to be up to snuff, you know.
Oh, you talking about like WWE 2K18? That travesty.
Oh God, sorry. Oh no, I thought we were going to talk about 2K18.
We having a Fred Sanford moment.
Oh
right
no,
now?
yeah, maybe he brought up the 2K. Oh, the 2K games before 2K22. Oh, okay, I'm fine. I'm okay. We're good. Now that is just kidding here, guys. But tell you, it was bad.
But I have to.
Oh yeah.
Up. So, I said that the first wrestling game that I played was Muscle Bomber, which is Saturday Night Slam Masters on the FM Towns Marty. Well, it got worse from there. See, my brother played all the good games. See, because I like these import systems, I played all the garbage games. And now, Sauce, you might want to look this up. It was on the NEC, PCFX, All Japan Women, Queen of Queens. Now, full motion video may be at its worst. I mean, we're talking on the lines of the Sega CD Marky Mark Make Your Own Music Video, okay, or Supreme Warrior.
You talking about what was it? It was called Wrestle Angels Double Impact.
No, that was another.
That was another one, buddy.
That was another All Japan Women game. No, this is called All Japan Women, Queen of Queens on the NEC PCFX. And yeah, because I was intrigued at the time. By All Japan Women because look at the women's wrestling we had in the 90s. Garbage.
Yep.
You had to go to Japan to find the good stuff. Whether it was FMW or and on the Nuclear Heatwave podcast, if you look back through the archives, there was an episode that we covered about women's wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And I know you and I know that Sauce and Dr. Love talked all about that. But I was intrigued by the All Japan Women. And so you see that first one on the top left where it says, that game. Yeah. So now Aja Kong, which, that's where
Awesome Kong.
Kia Stevens took the name Awesome Kong in a kind of
homage
to Aja Kong, who she's a bad girl now. Now, that's the cover art, but we need to look at a screenshot of the game because that just will signify this is full motion video. So
like Night Trap.
I got found one.
We're talking like Night Trap. We're talking like Dragon's Lair. We're talking so there's not much interaction. You could press a few buttons but there just wasn't much interaction. And I always got my ass kicked. I got to tell you that right now. And, at the time, Akira Hokuto was the only one who came into WCW.
Nope. And here we go. Look at this.
So now that's full motion video. They taken this from a match.
Yeah.
But in order to even get into a power driver, it's almost luck. I mean, you're mashing buttons.
Yeah, you obviously got your like stamina meter. You got like a power meter probably, and yeah, it's
You know what your experience reminds me of is the first time I tried to play. What's that full motion cartoon dragon?
King what
Dragon's Lair?
Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair. Like I remember, I forgot what system it came out on, but my buddy he had the system. I played that game for the first time like 7 years ago.
Was it Sega CD 32X?
No. It was that other. It was a crappy system. I want to say 3DO or Jaguar, one of those two.
No, a Jaguar CD.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, it may have been Jaguar CD.
Yeah, which we
But
all.
I remember playing it for the first time, and I was like, "Holy crap, this game is terrible."
Yeah,
about timing.
People love that style kind of game. Yeah. Oh yeah. Guess what though? Until you play the best version of that type of game, which is called the Wacky World of Miniature Golf. That right there is the same idea. You'll be so frustrated because they have to time it perfectly to get through that. Oh, now that's something we're gonna have to do one day. We're gonna have to play it, and then get frustrated altogether and drink many beers. We do have a post here. Sauce here. How about you read this post here? All right, here you go, Sauce.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm trying to like find. Wait, where? I don't see it. You know, we got this new platform.
Oh, I
I'm
see.
having a hard time trying to figure out where we're supposed to read it at.
I
don't see it.
So Sauce obviously has lost his vision, but Dunn 716, thank you for joining us. He says WWF No Mercy for the N64. And yes, as we talked about, I personally did like the game. It just now it's to me dated. I can't really. I tried playing it, and I just
We tried playing it.
Me and Sauce tried to play it, and we did not have a good. Like we played a Royal Rumble, and we were just like we forgot how to do everything.
It was frustrating as hell.
Yeah.
Well, like even back then, like I understood why people loved the game, but the biggest problem I had even back then was like the grappling, was like the reversal and counter system. I just felt like because it was on the Nintendo 64, a lot of times it just felt like sometimes the controls could be like real clunky at times. But like everything else, as far as the moves and whatnot, great. But yeah, but like if you had somebody, you know, who was really, really experienced, they would just dog walk you all over that ring. And I was like, this game is stupid.
Yeah. They could definitely like take advantage of you if you were not good at not like on time with everything. Oh yeah.
I will say, we come full circle, and I definitely enjoy a small little game who mimics that style. I don't know, because obviously it's not made by that company anymore. I don't even know if that company still even makes. I don't even know if AKI still makes games. But a little game called AEW Fight Forever.
And we'll talk about that since that's a good segue. I know CBM hasn't played it, but I've played it. And so obviously, you know, it finally came out this year, you know, and it's they obviously were going with a more arcade style fighter. You know, I remember the first screenshots, everything came out, people were really dogging on it for the style that looked real plastic kind of style. And, you know, Kenny Omega had like a 14, 16 pack, you know, his physique or something. But when the game came out, it was pretty fun. You know, if people have been playing the new 2K games, which we'll get to in a little bit. They get to this, it wasn't too hard to learn it. They just basically kind of skip out the controls. Yeah. So now Sauce, playing the game, did you ever play any like the mini games and stuff that they added?
I'll be honest with you, I was just playing through the campaign, you know, just getting a feel for it.
Yeah.
And I will say, the recent 2K games has fixed this problem, but also AEW has they avoided this problem I used to have with wrestling games for a while. I would say wrestling games from 2015 to 2019.
Yeah.
The problem I was starting to have with modern wrestling games was 2K games. They was making stuff way too I understand they want to go for a simulation experience. I get that. Yeah. But the problem I was having was it was all these little FMVs inside of FMVs. So it's if I would hit grapple. So you go to the animation of grappling. Then I'll have to hit a couple commands, and we got to go through all the little FMV animations of doing this move. Or I would have to like throw somebody on the tape. We got to go through a whole FMV scenario to do that.
Yeah.
And it was just like, to me, it got old real quick. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
As far as it goes, it just felt like it was just too much. It was too many animations going on, as far as per button sequence. And I feel like when WWE came back in 2022 or whatever the year it came back, and Fight Forever, they really got away from that. It was just like, I press a button, move instantly happens, bam, let's go on to the next one. Instead of me pressing the button, got to go to like an FMV sequence of a move before I can get to the next move to press the button. I know it sounds weird, but just go with it.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's why I really didn't play the 18, 19 games. It wasn't until they brought back 2K last year, 22, where it was like they fixed all the horrendous problems with the rushed abomination that was 20 or 19.
Yeah, 20.
Whatever the one that was the abomination. I was getting mixed up. It was 20. It was such an abomination.
Because it was like 19 to me. I started noticing in 17. It just seemed like it started getting worse. It got worse at 18 and getting worse at 19, where it was just too much going on. And it just wasn't really fun. It was just like, it was almost like playing Dragon's Lair.
Well,
go ahead, Sunil.
So, Dragon's Lair.
I do have to say this, though, before getting to the modern 2K games, after that All Japan Queen of Queens, I stopped playing the wrestling games for a long time.
Well, this is true. This is very true. He we were a gaming family, but he didn't really play much of the wrestling games.
Yeah, I went to the role playing and the fighting games, and until one day I had a PlayStation 3, and not when it was new, but I got one later, picked one up later, and I got AAA Lucha Libre Heroes del Ring.
Yep. There we go, baby.
Yes. I'm cursed with these effing games. I swear.
For the viewers at home, let's say, what was it? What was this game called again?
It is.
It was a game that came out. It was a big, not big. It was a big release, though.
It was AAA Lucha Libre Heroes del Ring.
You'll find it with just a little bit. It came out on the 360 too, if I believe.
Yes, it did.
It came out on both PS3 and 360.
And this thing, it was like molasses. I mean, you want to talk about lack of response. And here I'm excited because this is when I wanted to learn more about Lucha Libre and I started watching CMLL and AAA and
there you go. Yeah.
Yes. So the major problem though is it felt like molasses playing it. Every time you would enter a command, it would take forever to actually execute the command. And even though I wanted to play and I wanted to learn more about the move sets of these wrestlers, well, now I just have to watch the tape because I couldn't do any of that.
The irony behind that is the fact that you said it runs like molasses, and you're talking about luchadors, who are the farthest thing from being slow, But yet it would be a slow game. Oh my god!
Now, but confirming, I have to be a masochist. I swear, I have to. There's I'm into the alternative products, obviously, alternative everything. I mean, if you want to be frank here.
Okay.
TNA Impact PlayStation 3.
It's funny you say that because I actually own the 360 version. I have it. I don't know where it's at. I think
360 version too.
I think it disappeared somewhere. Maybe it was just like
so Sauce. If you own the TNA Impact on 360, what's your opinion of that?
Okay, given the opinion of somebody who played a game 13 years ago and only played it for like an hour, it wasn't terrible. It was all right. I mean, considering I was so used to the play style of the SmackDown versus Raw games. Had I given it more time, I probably could have warmed up to it a bit, and I couldn't remember if Kurt Angle was available right off the bat.
That's the big point there. That was my big pet peeve. So the game, you had to play through the game so
That's
much
what it was.
the characters. It's like
So
we're
I
not
think I just
fighting
played,
game here, you
I think I
know.
was kind of bummed out because I remember I got that game for like $10. I was like, cool, I get to play with Kurt Angle in this game because Kurt Angle's my my uncle Kurt Angle. I got to support him whenever. And I remember playing. I was like, where is he at? I was like, oh, I gotta lock him. I was like, okay, this is something I'll just do later. And 13 years later, we still haven't got back on that horse.
All right. Well, I do have my 360 hooked up in my basement, and that game actually is down there. I remembered why I couldn't find it because it was all down. My setup's down there because of games that I can't play on anything else because there's no versions I can buy, but I have them there, and that's why physical is always the way to go. Just saying when it comes to games.
So CBM, what was your thoughts on TNA?
On TNA Impact, the game, well, I don't know. Well, it just seemed like an unfinished product, and that might be because Midway Games was about to go bankrupt. And but it just seemed to me unfinished that if they had another year, it would have been pretty good. But it seemed like the entrances were just not good. They not compared to the competition, not compared to the WWE games. And the computer was dumb. Playing against the computer was dumb. Some of the move sets was mind numbing that no wrestler would do the moves and sequences that the computer would do in that TNA Impact game.
And what's crazy is even in 2023, wrestling AI, the wrestlers AI, they still haven't really fully got down pat. The only difference now is you won't see, I don't know who's that. You won't see Omos do like a springboard moonsault.
Right.
You won't see him do that.
Yeah, they finally started working on that. Like you're not going to get Spike Dudley doing a power, a choke slam to the Big Show. You're going to see something or the equivalent. Well, I'll tell you right now, what pisses me off. This pisses me off is I like we play. Whenever we play the new games, we'll play like Royal Rumble. It's real fun. Just kind of do it. But it's not fun playing the damn Money in the Bank, which I like Money in the Bank. But if you play with the computer, it's impossible. We were playing how many people? Like 3 players, 4 players against 2 computers, and we were playing. And I mean, it was like 45 minutes into the match, and we still couldn't get it because the computer was stupid.
I remember getting to a point where they knocked me out. I was on the ladder, CBM, and they knocked me out on the ring, and I literally fell outside the ring, and I just laid there. And it got to a point after 40 minutes, I put the controller down on. We was playing at Wilcox's house. I put the controller down on the couch, and I just got up, and I was like, "Let me know when it's over."
Yeah, because you got to remember in that game, once you climb the ladder, you have to get to the part where then you have to
quick time
move
event.
the analog sticks to then kind of like
serious?
They do it so you're picking the lock, so you have to kind of it spins. You have to move it up into the spot, and then
trying to simulate picking up.
Yes, that's the best way I could describe it.
Because I understand like they wanted to do like quick time events. Because obviously, I mean, realistically, if you just run up there and grab a briefcase and the match be over in like 1 minute.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So
it was just
somewhat difficult to get it, but when you're playing against the computer, it's not easy.
I'd rather simulate a reverse battle royal.
No, now we're talking about TNA stuff. Yeah, hey, TNA had a chance to put in their game. I don't know. Well,
it's funny that CBM mentioned as far as like TNA. If they would have just left that game in the oven, let it bake for another year, it probably would have been way better. And what reminds me of is Fight Forever. Yeah. Considering what we got, I wasn't like the gameplay wise. I wasn't mad at it. I think the only thing that hurts the game right now is still the lack of content as far as wrestlers go. Yes. But like gameplay wise, like it's like I don't know how long you'll be. I don't know how long you'll be here with us till you have to go back and do what you got to do, CBM. But eventually, I think I got my copy back from Doc. I'll eventually have to bring my copy over and have you check it out. That was, you know.
Well, we do have the next Saturday, which is the Full Gear pay-per-view, which of course we're going to talk about. So next
Wait,
week,
this Saturday or next Saturday?
next Saturday. Next
Okay,
Saturday.
good. 'Cause I'll be on. Well, I don't know if I'll still be on Ohio by on Saturday.
But now, did you get a Woo Ric Flair energy drink yet? That contains dragon
What-
Jesus Christ.
How much you want for a 6-pack of it? Like $27 or some shit.
fruit.
6-pack. It was like $25.95, and of course deposit.
Hey, that man's paying off what 3? I mean, well, he's paying off like 5 divorces. Hey, what you got to do?
He's
all
talking
that.
everything at this point.
4 divorces, and then other lawsuits, and from the Ric Flair finance, that was another one.
Woo!
And,
Where'd that come from? Woo! Okay. He's watch him start charging people for saying woo, like I own the woo. So
Real quick, because I know like me and obviously all 3 of us are pretty much around the same age, you know, as far as showing our age, as far as with these games. Did anybody ever play Tecmo Wrestling on NES?
So it's funny you mentioned that. Actually, if you look back at our chat, Papa Mafia even mentioned that Tecmo Wrestling wasn't terrible. Is what he said.
Listen, all I remember was
I did not really play it, so no.
so I played on emulator like years later, as I did with a lot of games later. And all I gotta say is Starman was great on that game. He was like kind of like before there was AKI, before there was Aki Man and No Mercy, there was Starman. And Starman was the truth. He was there.
I thought you said Stardust for a second. You know, Stardust. So
I will say my very first, because I know we're bouncing around, my very, very, very first wrestling experience. I remember my older brother. We went to his friend's house, who stayed around the corner from us, and I remember it was a I think it was a WCW game. Because I remember the only reason why I say that is I remember seeing Ric Flair and Surfer Sting. And I might have seen Legion of Doom in there somewhere. I mean, Road Warriors, whatever it was called back then.
yeah.
And I remember watching this game, and I thought it was so cool, even though they wasn't doing none of the stuff I saw on TV. But the fact that it was on Nintendo, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And, of course, me being a little brother, you know, they wasn't going to let me play it. I had to sit there and watch.
Shut down.
Yeah, but that was my first time seeing wrestling on a video game. So
what was it? Was it on the regular Nintendo?
Yeah, regular Nintendo.
Yeah.
No, I mean the WCW game.
Yeah, WCW. Yeah. It was on regular Nintendo. I just remember
that was in 1990, and you know it was a primitive game, but it had wrestlers. It had several wrestlers you can pick from. You know, I remember like the Freebirds were in it, and
right.
Oh yeah,
Varsity Club, and
I just remember Flair, Surfer Sting, and I think I remember seeing the Road Warriors, at least one of them in there.
Right.
And and I will say like through the Nintendo, Super Nintendo days, of like outside of the WrestleMania arcade game, I really didn't mess with it too much because even like during the Super Nintendo Genesis days, like they just like those wrestling games, they just felt real primitive.
yeah.
It was like it's cool, yeah, just punch, kick, and then of course, you know, it's like a lot of those games that have time to like fully bake. So it's basically you just mash your way to hope you got a victory. And it wasn't until we got to 3D where I think wrestling games finally like found their groove and started to thrive.
Actually, you made a good point about something. So I wish one of my friends, another Dudley with us, Dubster Dudley was with us, because there's one game that everyone loved, but I thought it was overrated, and that's WWF Attitude.
Yes.
Tone, and Attitude.
Yes, that game is horrible. It should not. Listen,
I remember that garbage.
Yep.
Listen.
There are so many people that will say that those are such great games. I said, why? What planet are you
I will
from?
say this, and only a small demographic is about to understand what I'm about to say. A small demographic, I mean CBM and like 3 other people who watch this show. You should not. It should not take a Raging Storm, a Geese Raging Storm command to do a suplex in a wrestling game.
Oh, that is. Oh my god.
Should,
it was so convoluted. Like it was to do any kind of moves in that game.
Because I remember my buddy. So I remember a buddy of mine that stayed around the corner about it when I was in like high school. He had the game, but like basically he had the game, but my other buddy Mike would play it. And I'm sitting there watching it because I'm like on the computer, just trying to as any teenager was doing on the computer at that time, and that was looking up video game cheat codes. And I'm sitting there watching him play this game. I'm like, okay, this game looks kind of cool. Now, mind you, never played it, never touched my hand yet. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. But when I started to see him do the moves and this and that and execute them, then when he put the control in my hand, he beat the snot out of me. I'm like, why can't I do anything? He's like, oh, look at the move list. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, the move list that was so.
Like, these are like Street Fighter 2 commands. Why? Wait, what? This is terrible. And I was like, yeah, this is stupid. I'll never play this ever again.
Oh my gosh,
that's bad. And by the way, I have never been able to do the Raging Storm ever in life. So, but that Warzone game, I even remember that was horrible. And fit and finish of that game, that game. You want to talk about half baked? I mean, maybe it was the limitations of PlayStation 1, but I still don't buy that. I think they could have done a better job, but horrible. But now the Super Nintendo games. Now in Japan, they had the Tukan Retsunen games, the Fire Pro Wrestling games.
Yep.
But compared to like WCW, NWO Revenge, there's no comparison. They were okay, like the later Fire Pro Wrestling, but once WCW, NWO Revenge came out, I mean, the bar immediately jumped.
Yeah, the bar was like all the way up here.
I know.
Yes.
Not. Oh, my bad. There. Over there.
There we go.
Over there. Not no mercy. Not over there. No, over that way. Not this. Not this way. This way. Over that way.
This way.
Yes, and forever changed. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it was definitely crazy, and I still wish they would have brought some Fire Pro games over here. I know they did later. I just wish they
later.
And they brought them off. They got it for PlayStation 4.
Oh, I know. That's what I mean. They finally started bringing them out, and it took them.
They had a few. So they did a couple for Game Boy Advance here.
Oh
They
yeah.
did a few for like PS4 was like the last big one because that was the one that was like because they started doing a lot of New Japan content.
Yeah.
And then before that, I mean, I don't know if it was widely available like in America, but like they were like cranking them bad boys out. But you know what's another crime against humanity? Is a small little 20-second rant. You know what we didn't get Fire Pro Wrestling for? You know who was the freaking Nintendo Switch that came out in 2017, created by Nintendo. It was a Japanese company. And those cowards, yes, I said those cowards over there in Osaka, Japan, did not give us a Fire Pro emblem of any sorts for Nintendo Switch. Even if they would just even if they came out with just a Japanese only version, I would have found that. I would have made a whole separate Japanese Nintendo Switch account just to play that game on my American Switch. But those cowards over in Osaka, Japan, or wherever the hell they are at, wherever they live, wherever Mario and Miyamoto live, those cowards over there did not give me this game that was like a no-brainer. That was the biggest travesty in video games since Tony Hawk never made it to Sega Saturn.
Oh, see, there you go. Got your number. Sauce Bronson's got your number about that.
That's right.
But
that's like Nintendo, those good boys and girls of Nintendo, you coward.
Well, give them a credit though that they brought Fight Forever to the Switch. You know,
and that's the version I purposely bought because I knew. I mean, come on now, Xbox.
A lot of people wanted to know that too. I remember a couple of wrestling boards I'm part of for wrestling belts and whatnot. They were talking about the game, and when I played, the game, when I borrowed it from you and whatnot, I said on this one post, I kind of gave them a little bit of a review, and then there was people because people wanted to know how it played on the Switch, docked mode, handheld mode, and yeah, it plays good. For an on-the-go wrestling game, there you go. So
yeah, and I like
the Game Boy Color one only because of course, do you know what made it the Game Boy Color? The ECW game. The Hardcore Heaven.
Hey, shout out to Game
Anarchy Rules.
Anarchy Rules made it, and then Hardcore Revolution was the first.
Hardcore Revolution was forgot about Hardcore
and
Revolution.
that's what Acclaim was. That's how they're trying to get their money back from
Acclaim?
from what they loaned the ECW. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh.
The Acclaim, the one that
Wait.
released Mortal Kombat on the home consoles.
Yep.
The one whose subsidiary LJN made those old figures in the 80s of WWF figures and then TNC Surf Designs and all that garbage.
I got that game too,
on
right?
NES subsidiary, and then remember the subsidiary Flying Edge for Sega. See, because Acclaim, they had Arena Entertainment and Flying Edge were making these for Sega consoles. And I don't know how I know this shit, but the
Mind Palace.
Acclaim and LJN were for the Nintendo systems. So anyway, so Acclaim Entertainment loaned ECW, I think, $2 million, and so they have to get their money back somehow. So that's how they released Anarchy Rules on, I think it was Game Boy Color. It was some old system. It was outdated at the time.
Yeah.
Let me just double check you on that. But
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Oh, real quick. Speaking, I don't know if it came out on Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance. I want to say Game Boy Color. I think it was WWE Day of Reckoning, and it wasn't really a wrestling game. It was actually a beat 'em up. And
Well, you know what? At that point, there's so many spinoffs of stuff. I mean, it doesn't surprise me if they want to come out with something like that.
Sorry to interrupt. It was the other way around. So ECW Anarchy Rules was the sequel, but that came out on Dreamcast.
I knew one of them came out on the Dreamcast.
But the first one, Hardcore Revolution, came out on
Game.
Dreamcast, PS, regular PlayStation, N64, and Game Boy Color.
Yeah, that's the game you want to play if you want to, like, punish somebody. Be like, you got to play it and you got to finish it. You got to finish the game.
Punish
Oh
yourself.
no, you got to finish a match.
Finish them, yeah, let alone a game.
I mean, I watched Jenna Maraska and Sharmell last, 3 days ago.
Yeah,
So I might as well play that game.
no one ever watched that TNA match, please, ever.
I mean, it's-
Ever, no, unless you really just are a masochist, apparently. So,
But yeah, and then spoiler alert on that Day of Reckoning game, the fight, like, because you had to, like, I guess Stephanie McMahon was kidnapped. Spoiler alert, the final boss of the game, you had to fight Vince McMahon. He
serious?
goddamn, I wonder whose idea it was for
yeah,
that game.
it was like a whole ploy or whatever. Like, he was behind it all.
Think about this right now.
Are you serious? I mean, did that happen?
Yeah,
Yeah, this video game happened. It was on Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance. I forgot which one. I want to say it was Game Boy Color.
Advance.
Yeah, this is a real thing.
It would have been advanced. But here's what meant. Now I got a better idea. I want a fighting game where McMahon's the last boss, and he's like impossible. He's harder than the General. Yeah, I brought up the General, basically the hardest the hardest fighting last boss in all fighting games history.
Or the various Rugal.
The Rugal, yeah. So I'm telling you that if McMahon would be the last boss and he's impossible to beat, McMahon definitely had some say on that
It had
one.
to be Mecha McMahon.
Mc-
It had to be Mecha McMahon.
No, it had to be Senator McMahon.
Oh my gosh! Please,
That's
please,
just-
I'm
You
gonna cry.
guys know what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna cry. So
You got a comment.
So moving on to a different game, I wanted to bring up. Actually, we do have another chat here. Looks like we do. We got Enya in the house. You guys just remind me of the episode of The Toys That Made Us that was dedicated to WWF, WCW action figures. It was very interesting. Very good episode too. I definitely know the one you're talking about. So yeah, that was a very fun time. And actually, can you hand that to me right there? So it's funny. I just got this recently. WWE has these new figures, relatively new, that kind of look like the old figures. The old style and whatnot.
I know we're getting a little off track, but is it me or when those WWF toys came out? Is it me or like every kid on the block you knew had the Jake the Snake figure?
Yeah, yep. I saw a lot of Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon figures too.
So
I saw a couple Ultimate Warrior, but like everybody had the Jake the Snake.
yeah.
Toys, yep.
you didn't have we have Junkyard Dog?
We had Junkyard Dog for sure.
but we had Big John Studd. See, these are like the old LJ. These are like the old LJN figures.
Yeah.
It was Junkyard Dog, Big John Studd, I think was the.
Oh, yep. So we had a lot of those. We had a lot of those figures, and I mean, I'll tell you right now, I couldn't imagine being in that market now. It's just so expensive. Everything is so expensive now. Plastic in general. Everything plastic. It's all more expensive. The oil for it, I don't give a shit. It's just more expensive. Everything I want to buy is too expensive. So,
but not the LJN figures, but the WWF figures after that. It was the one I remember. Every kid had Jake the Snake, the one where he had like the springboard like punch. You roll his arm back.
Okay.
Those particular ones.
All right.
As far as he's talking about, those figures. And shout out to E-Way Black, and shout out to his company he's trying to build up called Imaginary Vision. Oh God, he's gonna kill. He's right. Hold on.
Make sure to get that correct on here.
So. Shout out. He's going after his dreams. Hold on. What's it? Hold on. Yeah, Imaginary Visions is this little company that he's trying to get off the ground. He's getting into the whole CGI world, or whatnot. So, shout out to him. Hope he keeps, hopefully.
Oh, there we got it. Imaginary Visions.
Yeah. So,
there you go.
Yeah. So shout out to him. He's working on his little company, whatnot, to do future CGI. Hopefully his company would learn how to do some CGI on Jade Cargill when she finally wrestles WWE. No, I'm just kidding. They'll actually teach you how to wrestle at WWE.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, I'm bringing Finley back.
Oh, speaking of, how much you want to bet? In WWE 2K, what they got? 2K24 right now, or they
23 now? So 24.
So 2K24. How much you want to bet they're going to do some type of Jade Cargill DLC pack?
Well, of course they are. See, and actually that kind of goes into what I was about to say earlier when we were talking about Fight Forever being kind of bare bones. So their big philosophy that they said, now this is, of course, they'll say anything to get it out, is they're going to be the new style wrestling game that you don't have to rebuy games every year. We're going to just update the roster, and you get like sports games that, by the way, they release every year. But they still release roster updates, right? So it's like you're doing both. There is no way they're going to have that kind of model.
It's an excuse to make an unfinished game, is what it is.
I'm like right now they release some DLC. Like I think you get like the Hardy Boys or something. Was that DLC right at the start, or Danhausen or something? I don't remember.
Actually, we can go on a journey together. Hold on.
Yeah.
Well. But you see, considering Twinkle Toes was in charge of this game, and yet totally dropped the ball with how unfinished it is. It's amazing. I want to know. See, this is where if I was their accountant and figure out just where this money actually went, I would love to know. I know that no more.
Well, how long they worked on it too?
Yes, I mean just eating up that money, eating up Tony's money. I hope Tony one day wakes up and sees what he's been taking, what kind of ride he's been taken from these guys. There was if you might remember, this is just a quick side note. Oh my God,
they're still trying to charge that much for this game. Oh,
that's $24.
That's appalling. But now the XWF. Now this was in the early 2000s. And this is, you might have seen him on the early Shark Tank episodes, a guy named Kevin Harrington, who was one of the investors on there. He funded this XWF. But after, guys like Greg Valentine and them just completely siphoned money off of him, he says, I'm not putting good money after bad. And he killed that thing. So, I mean, one day Tony Khan might wake up and see what kind of ride he's been taken for by the Massengill bunch and Twinkle Toes. And
oh my gosh, yeah, that's true. It looks like, according to this right here, the good research. Thank you. So yeah, FTR, that was the other one. So they charge for FTR $12 for that pack just to have two wrestlers. The Fight Forever Hookhausen for $8.
I mean, let's be honest. Everybody just pay $8 to play with Danhausen.
Yeah, and then you have the Limitless Bunny. So you have the Bunny and Keith Lee. Why is Keith Lee not in the game? Why wasn't he like in the game already? This is
Right.
And then of course you have the Hardy Boys, which was $5. But you're
no,
telling
that's not the Hardy Boys. That's just Matt Hardy and Broken Matt Hardy, not Jeff, just Matt.
Oh, there you go. Sorry. So it's just Matt Hardy and his broken Matt Hardy persona. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, at least on the DLC for the WWE game, you got several more characters and other stuff.
CBM laughing.
I mean, I'm just thinking, I look at Matt Hardy, and then it brought me to the Twitter war that he had a few months ago, and with Jim Cornette. And,
Yes.
And then this one fan, her name Tasha Blevins, decided she's going to completely defend Matt Hardy here, and I won't repeat verbatim what they said because it's just triple X rated basically. So whenever I see Matt Hardy and I see someone who really just needs to ride off into the sunset, how is he contributing to anything right now? And then he called Jim Cornette a moon calf. Do you even know what a moon calf is? I mean, I'd love to know.
I personally think that was just Rebby doing his Twitter. Like, it wasn't actually him writing. Think about it.
Oh, Rebby, the one where you can't speak to her unless she speaks back to you first.
Yeah, I personally think that she ran his Twitter, and that's it. I mean, it makes complete more sense right now.
And then they want you to have cookies and stuff. I mean,
oh God, here we go.
I'm just curious to see if they got anything new on here.
Not sponsored by Fight Forever. We're just
no, this is not. We're just looking it up. So
we're just looking up information.
We're definitely not sponsored by these jokers. I mean, THQ couldn't even stay in business. They had to be bought by Nordic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're dealing with here.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Looks like there's nothing different here.
Elite. What's the Elite Edition?
The Elite.
What is the Elite Edition? Please, for the love of all that is holy, please.
Oh God. Well, it looks like it's the Matt Hardy DLC.
Oh come on.
And then
$80.
$80. But they still are charging.
Well, technically, it's $20 more, and it's just all this that comes with it.
I mean, what the hell? I mean, this is what we're dealing with.
Well, maybe this Black Friday will go on sale for like $20 or something. Who knows? But
I'd rather watch Heroes of Wrestling.
Oh gosh, or you know what? In that same vein, the Legends of Wrestling.
Yes, okay.
Legends of Wrestling, or the Hulk Hogan Connect wrestling game. Yes, I can't. Hulk Hogan.
What?
Sauce. You can pull it up.
I don't even know what that is.
Nope. You got to pull. I can't remember what it's called. It was Hulk Hogan.
About that Hulk Hogan game that came off of Xbox Connect.
Yes.
All right, hold on.
Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
You're about to get your mind blown. Like my hair's already blown out.
I suffered through Queen of Queens on the damn PCFX that broke on me.
Yeah.
And then now.
Yeah.
But I don't even know about this garbage.
Nope.
I usually play all the
well, this was Connect exclusive, and guess what? I can get it because I have the Connect downstairs and my 360 hookup, so we can play it together, guys. We can play this abomination together. Oh, here we go. The main event. Yep.
Oh,
Hulk Hogan's main event. Because guess what? You could do all the moves and because the Connect was motions. That's her. Oh God, I'm crying. I don't know. Because it's Connect required. You had to have the Connect to play it. It was
just looking at some of these screens.
It's so bad. Look how terrible. Look at how bad the screen. I mean,
the Biz. Instead of the
Caliente. Yeah. That right there just sums it up. This sums up what kind of game this was. I'm just saying. Guys, look, we're in the backyard. Is this backyard wrestling? Which, by the way, was probably better than this, So
what we did is better than this.
Yeah, well, no, I'm talking about the video game, the backyard wrestling game.
Oh,
they made two. Because ICP was in it. Yes. That was what I'm talking about. But I'm sorry. Now that everyone sees this seared into their memory, we'll never again.
We're going to open the portal of hell here.
We
talked about every single. We talked about the backyard wrestling game, the Legends of Wrestling game, this abomination, this Connect garbage, Queen of Queens,
Attitude and Warzone.
Warzone, Jesus.
The Game Boy Color game.
Game Boy Color, ECW Hardcore Revolution.
Yep. Oh God, it's all.
I'm sorry if we all just vaporize right now, you'll know why.
Yeah,
I'm just preparing you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's just it's something else. It's something else here. Let me tell you. Let me talk to you for a second. So I'm just saying, like Sauce had to step out for just a moment. He'll be back. Don't worry. But God.
So now
I'm gonna cry.
Now, when we talked about those garbage games, I forgot all about I forgot there was two backyard wrestling games.
Backyard. Yeah, there goes the neighborhood. I think it was called.
Yes,
and
it is.
So
it
you
is.
had
Yes, it is. Gosh.
Oh yeah, no, it was bad. So like the big thing about it was you had ICP in it. It was
that. But okay, was this before they founded Juggalo Championship Wrestling? Was it before or was it?
That's a good question. Probably around that same time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I don't know.
No, so I'm about to blow your mind. Do you want your mind blown?
You show me the Hulk Hogan Connect game. I mean,
so apparently, here's the thing. Apparently, there was a third game too.
But now hold on, before you list that, did the Hulk Hogan Connect game? Since it's a camera, right?
Yeah, that's the camera. So you had to use the camera, and so your movements wrestle.
But now, could it show you having sex with Bubba the Love Sponge's girlfriend and record it?
Maybe, but she kind of would look more like a sponge, like SpongeBob, because of the graphics.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I'm not gonna lie.
Not like a 4-year-old cohort, but anyway.
No. Yeah, I'm just so.
I'm just saying.
No,
I'm sorry.
The
opinions are expressed as a result of CBM.
Yes. So look, there was the backyard wrestling games they came out on the Xbox and PlayStation 2. And there was the first one, then you had the second one where ICP and New Jack was in it. Oh yeah. I mean, what
New Jack by himself? Oh yeah, that he must have licensed it just to him.
Well, of course, because they wanted hardcore everything. Well, here we go. This is the first game. Backyard wrestling. Don't try this at home for the Xbox. And I'm not going to name everyone in this roster, but you're going to recognize some. You got, of course, ICP, Madman Pondo, Rude Boy, Josh Prohibition, M Dog 20, Evil Dead from JCW. So yes, JCW was definitely around. Monoxide Child. Sabu was in it because Sabu's going to do every one of these games. El Drunko, El Chicaron. Let's see. We have Sonny D. Chopper, Atrocity Triple X, because it wasn't just Atrocity. It was Atrocity Triple X. And then Tylene Buck. Yes, Major Guns herself.
You know what? Now. Okay, was this the third game?
The second game. Or first game. Oh, first game.
Okay.
First game.
Now you're right about that. When was it released?
2003.
Okay. So Tylene Buck, that's what I remember about that. Because Tylene Buck, for those who might not know, in WCW, she was originally one of Scott Steiner's freaks.
Yep.
And then
he had some freaks.
Well, and he had April Hunter. And then Kim Canner, who was known as Shakira, and then Medeja O'Hearn, who Medeja. And April Hunter didn't last long. She decided to do apartment wrestling. She thought she'd make more money doing that, and still doing that.
I was about to say, I think she's still doing something like that.
But Tylene Buck was in that group also. Well, she went to the Misfits in Action group because they needed Hugh Morris to do something.
Yep. Yeah.
Which, to give him another pun on that name, they named him Hugh G. Rection.
Oh my God.
This is WCW in mid-2000, just to let you know. So Tylene Buck was part of the Misfits in Action group, but then she turned. And when she saw Lance Storm, She said, "I've got to go Canadian because once you go Canadian, you don't go back." At least in her opinion. So she turned and joined Team Canada.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So
yeah, so she's she definitely has other videos that she's done.
yes,
Just a little research. Google's your friend. So there you go.
She starred in a few I won't say classics because they're not classics.
No.
Let's face it. But they're
No.
But she's made some starring appearances, just like Chastity.
Just like Chastity, yeah. So here we go. Backyard Wrestling 2. There Goes the Neighborhood, I think is what it was called. Or I'm sorry. Yep, There Goes the Neighborhood.
What system was that on?
Xbox as well.
So that was on Xbox?
Both of them. So it came out a year later in 2004. Okay. Just listen to this. So obviously they got some more licensing and spent some more money because I'm not going to name the people I already named. Vic Grimes, Vampiro, New Jack, Nick Mondo. A lot of CZW in this game. A lot of CZW. So, Ruckus, Sandman, Sanjay Dutt. What? Why would he be in a game like this? Messiah, who actually Messiah is a local boy here, actually, in Allen Park, Michigan. He was from Supreme, Zandig.
Do they show him with all his digits?
I know. Well, that's a good question. Zandig, Tyler Buck makes a return.
All right.
Yep. And then Ryuji Ito, it says here. Then Andrew WK randomly in it. And then, of course, Tara Patrick and Sunrise Adams.
Tara Patrick. Yeah, see, so going with that theme.
And then Adrian Payne. So,
but Andrew WK, that's bringing me back.
So literally, that's just something to think about. Like, holy crap. How, so wrestling games, again, over the years, have been very much all sides of the whole coin. Bad, good, holy hell. And I had to look up. I just had to look that up. I don't know why I did that.
But you said Backyard Wrestling 3. What was that?
So I just looked it up. Apparently, it's not the video game. It was. Y'all remember how many wrestling tapes came out?
Oh yeah.
Best of Backyard Wrestling, but it was always like the super hardcore, crazy shit. That's all it was. I was like, guess we can't see ICP and Nick Mondo because I guarantee a Backyard Wrestling video game with like Nick Gage in it now and Moxley and stuff. They would.
so now here's the question: is which promotions did not have a wrestling game based on them? Now that would be interesting because Wrestling Society X. Remember that XPW, which you had some XPW stars in the Backyard Wrestling game.
I mean, technically Lucha Underground, but because the AAA Lucha game was a AAA game,
right?
Let's see. I know CMLL I think had some game. I thought they did, but see, can't really. I know All Japan definitely had games.
Well, All Japan. Well, Queen of Queens.
Oh yeah,
was
of
All
course.
Japan Women, but All Japan Pro Wrestling did have.
You haven't seen anything like Noah, specifically Noah. I'm pretty sure anything like that. You're not going to see ICW over in the UK. But again, they're not going to spend that money for it because they're not big enough.
Right.
And then again, ECW only had two original games for old ECW. So that would be the closest I would say, not counting AEW because that was their for only game. And I'm not counting any mobile games. Like if it's just a mobile iOS or Android game, I don't count that shit because none of that's good. Not one of those games. It has to be, not the card games, not the where you have to buy loot boxes and crap like that.
Oh, Jesus.
No. But that's pretty much what I got for that. But I will say, because we've kind of talked about a lot of different things here, and we're kind of crossing the fourth. What am I trying to say? I don't even know. The fourth. No, I actually meant more like a horse race. You're hitting the final stretch. There we go. We're in kind of one thing I wanted to talk about that was underrated, but for its time, but it was kind of revolutionary. Has to be the Raw game, Raw and Raw 2 for the Xbox. So you're talking about I remember borrowing this game and system from a friend that lived a couple blocks away because they just got this game, and I'm like, oh, I want to play it. I want to borrow your system. And the game itself was okay, but it was the fact that it was the first game you could put your own music in. With the Xbox system, you could then put your own music in. I mean, it was cool literally listening to your theme music for our creative characters and not just the generic music or whatever they put in the game. Like, it was such a cool thing to see. And then Raw 2 was just more of the same. There wasn't much at that point. It was like Xbox had this license for just exclusive game for them. So that's what they came out with. And you saw there was no Raw 3. We just went to WrestleMania 21. So I have to always say that because, to top it off right here, Papa Mafia has a good one. WCW Backstage Assault, possibly the worst WCW game.
Yeah,
CBM.
It wasn't the worst. It was actually pretty fun, but it definitely wasn't the worst. There was something that was worse.
Well, he's talking about the worst game WCW made. That's what he's talking about. Well, what about Thunder?
Yeah.
Thunder was pretty bad.
Thunder was bad.
Thunder was bad. So
I think so.
I didn't like Thunder. Yeah, I wasn't really a fan,
But is that because the PS1 games all seem to suck?
Well, especially because they all kind of had that Warzone
type of feel.
And I hated that
Whereas
series.
it was either the N64,
Yep.
but then the PS2. See, you got good games
Yep.
on those, but it seemed like PS1, every game on there was water trash. I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
to me,
Water trash.
yeah,
That's some gray water right there. That's what.
workaholics, baby.
Yep. See, there we go. But so though like I said, kind of like on the final stretch here, because we've talked about a lot of different games. Sauce, is there any kind of other games that's kind of stood out to you, good or bad?
WWF Royal Rumble, the one that came out arcade and on Dreamcast. Like that was one of the last few memories I had of Roscoe's Arcade in Detroit. I say that game was great.
Now that's an arcade cabinet you should get, or I wish they would make, so then you could get it. So it's like.
Speaking of arcades, what was that? WWF Superstars.
Yep.
That game was great.
Yeah. So what he's referring to, CBM, is they made a newer WWE game that was very cartoon style, but it was pretty fun. Like it was because they very cartoon style, or over the top animation for like the finishing moves. Yeah, it was kind of fun because that game came out after the Abomination that was 21. So like they needed something to come out in that time. So it was good. It was pretty fun though. Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, I wish they would make an arcade cabinet though. Of all these arcade cabinets, give them the license and sell it. People would buy it.
Well, you mean the old Royal Rumble game? I could help source that for you.
Here we go.
I used to deal.
There we go.
Deal in them.
Hey, there we go. We got the guy. It's like I got a guy. We got a guy.
Yeah.
Who's the guy?
I mean, now it's been a lot of years, but you can also get recreations of the side art on the cabinet, and
yeah. Oh, trust me, he's got a good collection because he is basically Sauce has one great mini cab collection that then they're modded in a sense to where he can play a lot of different games and whatnot. But it's really nice. It's a good setup because some of those are too expensive, man. Some of those are,
just wait for them to go on sale.
Yeah,
that's what I did.
Yeah. So,
but there was a game I had.
So CBM, what do you got?
So there was one that I forgot about, but I forgot. I didn't list the whole timeline here because I went from Muscle Bomber to Queen of Queens. Then I skipped all the way to the PS3. No, there was one game in between, baby, and it was on the tower. WWF on 32X.
Yep.
And because I didn't want the gimped Super Nintendo version.
Nope.
Oh no. But the Genesis version, I don't know. Was it because it was made by Flying Edge and not didn't have that acclaim, even though they're the same company. I
No,
thought Flying Edge.
we had to
do I
make sure
trust
that
it?
get it on the tower, the 32X tower.
Yeah,
so
I think by then it was Acclaim just decided to release everything for 30. I don't know.
well, they were trying to get a library out, so they were releasing anything. I think at that
And
point.
so on the 32X, WWF WrestleMania the arcade game came out there, and for what it is, it was fun, and the colors, 32,768 colors. I mean, instead of the whatever 64 or whatever's on Genesis, it just seemed to make everything pop at you.
yeah,
Even though the game was, the game was okay, but maybe I like those yellow boxes.
the yellow boxes of those 32.
Maybe that was it, or maybe because it was $9.99 at KB Toys on clearance. Maybe
Yes.
that was it.
Yes.
I think that was it. Really.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. It's that's good. That's some good stuff right
yeah,
there.
because software, etc., charged too much for that stuff.
What about Babbage's? How about which one had you?
Electronics Boutique.
Yep, all of them before GameStop bought them all.
I
So
got the 3DO crap from. Please don't get.
What are you talking about?
Don't
Wait.
get 3DO. Please
3D.
don't.
3D. Well,
Here, I have to. I'm sorry, Sauce. I'm sorry to commandeer this, but this is a story. So I was at Funko Land one day.
and there's the other one. And there's
This
the
is
other one.
1994. Okay, so this is around September of '94. I saved up money. I saved up through any means necessary. I got about 400 together. I was amazed that I even had this. So, man, because they used to have Neo Geo then
Right.
at the Fatal Fury 2, and I thought, oh, Fatal Fury 2. Look at those graphics, 106 mega. Oh my God. Well, then this guy, and he looked exactly, oh my goodness, like comic book guy from Simpsons. Looked exactly like him. He goes and he tells me, he says, young man, 3DO is the future. Don't mess with this Neo Geo stuff. This is old news. 3DO is the next generation.
Oh my God! How much are they paying them to hawk this shit?
So now, I'm not that old, but like an idiot, I go to ABC Warehouse, which is some garbage, place here that sells appliances where you have to dicker with them on price.
You do. You really do it.
It's one of those type of deals. It's like a used car salesman, except they're for new appliances.
Yep. Yep.
So then I go in there and I get this. Then, well, hey, we got this great deal on a 3DO here. We can give you the 3DO with Crash and Burn and Total Eclipse,
Yep.
and
Yep.
all this for $4.99. So now, mind you, so I had to borrow 100 from my mom here to try to make this happen.
Yep.
So I get it,
Oh God.
and immediately I'm like, I should have got the Neo Geo because I wouldn't have been disappointed in this garbage. And
Really crying.
because
it was just so funny. It was so.
So please, whatever you do,
Don't get it. Just emulate everything you want to play.
emulate everything. Go with your gut instinct first.
Yeah.
Don't let comic book guy talk you out of something.
That's-
Please don't, because you will regret it for years to come. I mean, I'm talking about right now. So what does that tell you?
That's how he's scarred for life, my friend. He's scarred
That's
for
like real quick story before we get out of here. I remember my cousin Norman. He was trading some games, and he went with I think it was like he got rid of his Super Nintendo and some other stuff for this thing by Tiger Electronics called Gamescom.
we actually have one. I actually
I
have a
remember like looking at like the magazines. I was thinking of how cool the Gamescom thing was. I thought it was kind of cool. And then I see it in person at the pawn shop, and I'm looking. I tell my cousin like, I don't think you should get this.
no.
I say, but he was so determined in getting rid of his Super Nintendo for this little thing, for this device. And I think the only game that he was able to get with it might have been Doom 2.
It was rough. Apparently, they made a sequel system, like an upgraded system of that Gamescom, but it still wasn't.
It's not the R zone.
It's not the R Zone that we also own, by the way. We own.
I will say CBM, and during this time, as trash as 3DO was, and it was a very trash system, it was definitely horrible. During this time, 3DO I think was the best console port to play Street Fighter, the Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yes, it was. I had that in Samurai Showdown, and yes, it was. That is true. And so what happened? 3DO, I eventually got around to where, okay, there's good games for it. Guardian War. In fact, I played it like last year. I went through and played it again. And Burning Soldier, I was one of the few that liked that game. Samurai Showdown was a great port. Yes, it was on to the 3DO. But in a way, though, that made me want the original more, right?
Yeah.
Because the port was great and it had the Red Book audio music, which the
Right.
CD-based music. It wasn't generated from the console. But in a way, now Way of the Warrior now, because you had White Zombie theme music, Naughty Dog's first game now, before they got famous with Crash Bandicoot and all that. They
Yep.
made Way of the Warrior. And
that game was terrible and great.
it was terrible and great at the same time.
There was that one guy, I remember I figured out how to do his, like, he would do like the teleport, like butt stomp thing, whatever he would do. And I would spam it over and over and over.
You could. Oh, you could. And you could beat the game that way. You could beat the High Abbot, which was the rat.
Abbott, yep. I have it.
And then the skeleton that was off the screen, Cole,
Yep.
where they couldn't even have a full sprite of him.
No. It was so ridiculous.
But 3DO had a lot of good games. The thing was, though, it made, like with Samurai Showdown, it made me want to get the original kind of that much more. So in December of '96, I ended up getting the Neo Geo, and then that started a whole nother deal.
Which was great. It was good.
Yeah, well, I mean, we wore out the contacts on
We
Real Bout Special.
that tells you how much you play a
contacts
game. How much you play a game. So that's something right there. I still think it's funny to this day. But hey, it's all fun.
But Gamecom. So now let me ask you this. So Norman, how long did Norman have that Game.com?
Okay, we was kids, so I don't think he might have had it maybe a few months until he like traded for something else. Eventually, he made his way up to Sega Genesis with the 32X 32X attachment to it. So as a kid he bounced back. He eventually bounced back. It just took him a while.
That's good. As long as he didn't have the activator trying to play Eternal Warriors.
That's the thing for another episode.
I know. I'm just messing. Well, I'm just because of the fight. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, that's the whole game right there. But
so Doc, so you about ready for the heat of the week?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So CBM, as you've probably heard before, but we'll just reiterate. We always like to do the heat of the week, which is basically anything in the wrestling world, whether it's the games, a promo, a match, a wrestler, and we want to give them props, like good thing about that. So it could be anything. It doesn't really have to be anything specific. It can be kind of general or broad. So with that, I'll just go first with mine, just because and I'm gonna have to go. And I know I'll get some booze for it, but I'm gonna go with Logan Paul, baby, U.S. champion. This guy. We have
been putting respect on that man's name since we started this podcast.
Yeah.
I have been.
Let's talk about this guy, okay? He's the perfecter of the Logan Lariat, So
yeah,
because other people try to steal it, cowboys and punks and stuff like that. These punk guys and these cowboys try to steal this, but it's the Logan Lariat. And also, he saved Rey Mysterio basically from becoming a paraplegic.
That's still debatable.
Well, yeah. Could he have been closer to him for the move? Yeah. Did Rey not jump as far? Possible. How old is he? He shouldn't be tired at this point.
We'll know about 8 years when they make a Dark Side Ring episode of it.
Oh, my gosh. But that's what I'm going to have to go with now. I think it's going to give a lot of good publicity just because of his social media outreach and stuff like that. People hate him. Like he's not dumb heat, but he's good heat. So
Sometimes you got to separate the man from the artist. Okay.
They don't have to pipe in booze.
they don't know.
from Logan Paul.
He definitely gets the booze. So CBM. So what about you? So anything? Yeah.
Well, I had brought it up earlier, but Ric Flair going to AEW.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, he got a 2-year contract, and that is open for longer too. But it's a minimum of 2 years. But it comes with the provision that the Woo energy drink now will be put in every locker room. Okay. No, in every arena that AEW goes to, regardless of the fact that these arenas have contracts with Coca-Cola and Pepsi.
They do.
And so Coca-Cola, they might have to deal with Monster or Rockstar or whatever. That they have their own lines of drinks. So how can you guarantee that the Woo energy drink is going to be, in these arenas, replacing these others? They didn't think that one through. So
I think it'll be on their like the commentators' desks, like Surge back in the day from WCW.
Well, it's exactly like Surge.
They're gonna have it like, hey, what do we have here? Oh, we got this delicious Woo energy drink, guys. I'm gonna be drinking my Woo.
It's the same. I mean, don't you notice the parallels? I mean, with AEW now, Sauce. Now you have to admit this. AEW, the parallels between WCW and AEW are just mind-numbing.
They really are.
And now this with the Surge and the Ric Flair Woo energy drink, the similarities are just too much. It's beyond coincidental at this point.
I'll tell you, it's going to get to the point where the EVPs, they're going to restructure a contract where they are always the highest pay. Even if you bring somebody in that makes $5 million a year, they'll be making $5 million and $1 million a year.
The most favored nation contract, yes.
Yep.
The one that Kevin Nash and Scott Hall got.
Yep.
Oh,
yep. So
that's why they wanted Bret Hart in WCW when Bret came over after the screw job.
Yep.
And they wanted Bret bad because they had Kevin Nash and Scott Hall had most favored nation contract, which means exactly what you said, Sauce, that anyone that comes in other than Hulk Hogan that made more than they did, their pay immediately got bumped to that contract.
Man, that's a good contract.
So they both were making $2 million a year, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, the day that Bret Hart signed with WCW.
Yep.
No, you're right.
How
about that.
funny.
So, gentlemen.
So what do you got, Saucy Sauce?
So first, it was NWA getting a TV deal. I think with CW or whoever. Shout out to them. Now we recently found out a couple hours before that apparently NXT is going to be on regular television now, which I feel is a good thing. So basically, unfortunately, SmackDown's getting moved to cable again, which is stupid. But so in return, we get NXT on regular TV now.
Yep.
So
now, it's funny you mentioned that about the NWA deal. That right now is probably dead in the water now because last week they had a show, the Sam Hain show, like a Halloween kind of show. And during the show, you had the Sinister Minister on there snorting like, some powdered substance.
little bullshit.
Higher ups came out and basically said we don't like that. So the big thing is now that show is no longer happening for NWA on CW, and that's maybe what really prompted this NXT deal with them, because they were all set to go on there and have a reality show too, an NWA reality show as well. I don't think anything's happening now at that point. If it's happening, it's only going to happen on their app, on their CW app, which they do have an app. Like everyone's got an app apparently, but But NXT being on there, I'm a fan. But no, you're right. SmackDown, it's a bummer about that, but they were at the mercy of Fox, really, whatever Fox wanted,
But now the question is, where is Raw going to?
I-
Raw is not necessarily going to stay with USA.
No, but the bigger problem I have with that is the fact that they're saying, oh yeah, it can move. It can move off Monday nights. And I'm like, what? Like the fact that it would move off of Monday nights?
You know, the dark horse is Warner Brothers Discovery bidding for Raw.
Here, yeah, so I hear about that. The same apparently working with AEW about getting like contract. Oh, now Endeavor with all that money against them.
That Warner Brothers Discovery has been talking about Raw. Now they're not the favorite. They're not the favorite candidate, but there was a study that there was something done regarding the cost per viewer hour. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And it showed that Raw, I think, was 97 cents per viewer hour, and the NFL was like $3 per viewer hour.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, of course, we will look at it as apples and oranges, but to media, they just look at viewership
Yeah.
associated,
The analytics of it.
and they look at
That's all.
the purely analytical, and they see the value of WWE versus the NFL.
Yeah.
So they will. So it's possible that Warner Brothers Discovery or CBS
Yep.
might actually.
Or even Disney, but because Disney, if they got it, they put it on FX or even ESPN. For God's sake,
What Disney could put it on ESPN. Remember that ESPN. You remember when anytime a sports channel would talk about wrestling, they always talk about it with disdain.
Oh yeah.
And but notice now, I mean, you even have Cowturd on Fox Sports 1, talking wistfully about Charlotte Flair. I mean,
yeah.
So it's completely changed the rhetoric of surrounding wrestling has completely changed to the sports network. So it's possible that.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like rap music, where back in the day it was frowned upon, but now it's like the hottest thing now. So
yeah.
That's a very good analogy right there for sure.
I will say the day that Disney owns any rights to AEW property is the day I will stop watching WWE. I've said it before. I will say it again, because modern day Disney, everything they touch turns into garbage. So
Well, they do have Miramax though, don't they? I mean, didn't they own Miramax? That was their adult.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, Miramax, as it's known, is dead now. It's just literally a name. It's just a name now. I mean,
shows where I've been.
Yeah, hey, but that's just how it is. But for that, that's pretty much it. I mean, we could go on and on and on and all day, but that's always for another time. And with that being said, next week we do have we're going to be kind of doing the preview for the AEW Full Gear pay-per-view, which I would have said was their last pay-per-view of the year. But apparently there is a new pay-per-view in December called The World's End, with the dumbest logo I've ever seen in my entire life for a pay-per-view. Well, actually, I should take it back. There's plenty of others. Havoc, 2000, that really weird H logo. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah.
Whatever. Vampire got killed on that.
Yeah. And many others. But anyway, so this is going to be, we're going to preview that pay-per-view. And just also talk about a little bit about, not a full preview or anything, but like upcoming Survivor Series. But mostly it's going to be about Full Gear, kind of letting you guys know how it's going to go there. But with that being said, unless you've got anything else, Saucy and CBM, we're good.
I'm ready to go.
Sounds good, guys. So thank you guys for putting up with us. Like I said, we're on a new streaming service here, and hopefully, everything worked out good. The backgrounds look great. So now for future episodes, that's going to be a good idea. Good thing to, come up with some stuff. But we're going to head out for tonight. My name, of course, is Dr. Love. We got Sauce Bronson, and of course, CBM in the house. And like I said, with all that being said, we're going to catch you on the flip side.
Hey, let's say most importantly, listen, y'all be happy, be healthy, but most importantly, y'all be good.